Hello, and welcome to another episode of GeekSquawk. My name is David Heath.
And I am Noah Jagers.
And we're here to talk about a very special superhero.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man.
Yes, the web slinger wall crawler himself.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh, where do we start?
Let's start right at the beginning with the 1960s when he was created by Steve Ditko, R.I.P., and Stan Lee. Please keep living.
Yes. Oh, so if you have been living under a rock for your whole life, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, who was bitten by a radioactive spider and gained spider-like abilities. And at first, much like a lot of human beings, he wanted them for himself. He wanted to be rich, he wanted to be famous, but he let someone get by him, a robber who was robbing a place, and he didn't want to do it because he felt like, it's not my responsibility, I'm going to do whatever I want.
As quoted in various Spider-Man media, though differently, the cop or someone is like, why couldn't you have stopped him? Peter says something like, that's not my problem. Or, I missed the part where that's my problem. Or, it's not my policy.
Mm-hmm. But then a few weeks later, that same robber killed Uncle Ben.
Not even a few weeks later. It was like a day later. Like, he was walking home from his wrestling gig that same day.
No, I'm pretty sure that happened like days later.
I'm pretty sure it happened the same night. Because if it was just a few days later, then I don't think it would have had as much of an impact as it did.
Well, I do have the comic here in my room. I could check.
Yes, you could.
Well, should I?
Yes,
Okay.
please hold.
Okay, please hold.
So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Spider-Man this episode. Just Spider-Man in general.
Yes.
That's all. That's over.
No, see, okay, look. So he goes home, and then Uncle Ben's still there, and then it says in the next page, in the days that follow, the Spider-Man becomes a sensation of the nation. And one evening, as Peter returns home.
Oh, so it's an undisclosed. So it could have been just 2 or 3 days, but
yeah, it's any particular amount of time after that happened.
Yeah, the movie usually portrayed as like the same
Like
day.
like the second it happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, amazing. That's how Amazing Spider-Man did it. Like the second he walked out of
the store.
The store, but at least with Tobey Maguire. Maguire. It was like the night of. He walks out. He goes home, or not even goes home. He just walks.
He walks home and then sees it.
Yep. Like, oh my god, that's my uncle, and he's barreled past these people.
I gotta say, as much as I don't like the Maguire movies, that one did that scene did make me kind of choke up a little bit.
That guy was a good Uncle Ben. I'll give him that.
Yeah, Cliff Robertson, rest in peace. There's something about because when he's there, Peter sees him. He says, "Uncle Ben," and Uncle Ben says, "Peter." And it's like, "I'm here, Uncle Ben." The second time when he says Peter, he's crying a little bit. Like, oh, it hit me right in the heart.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah, and so when Peter finds this out, he's me like, oh, I'm gonna get this motherfucker, you know?
Yeah. And then when he finds him, he figures out it's the dude he let pass.
Not Sandman. Fuck you, Spider-Man 3.
No, not Sandman. Screw that bullcrap. No, not Sandman.
Did they even give a guy a name in the original comics, or did they just have him as the guy who shot Uncle Ben?
In the first one, no. Afterward, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't say his name in this particular comic.
Anyway, just the same guy who Peter let slip is the guy who killed Uncle Ben.
And from that moment forward, Peter always remembered that with great power must also come great responsibility.
You know, it's funny that you say it that way, because that's the way it's originally written, right?
Yeah.
So every single media afterwards gets the quote wrong.
Well, no, the 90s series gets it right.
They do?
Yeah, several times.
Oh, well.
You can thank Christopher Daniel Barnes for that.
Most medias get it wrong. Then.
Maguire got it wrong. Andrew Garfield and, unfortunately, Holland didn't address it.
Well, that's cool. As you had pointed out to me, you're okay with that because, like, you know, you don't want to see the origin again for like the third time.
No, I don't. but at the same time, it's like the thing is that in the Holland universe, I'm going to assume Ben's already dead, or
obviously because he's Spider-Man.
Well, the thing that I think maybe is because it doesn't look like it's weighing on Peter's mind too much. So I'm thinking, did they get rid of that? I mean, I don't know if they did or not, but because I honestly thought when Infinity War was coming out, I thought Tony Stark was going to be his Uncle Ben in air quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that thing to push him towards that responsibility.
But here's the thing: he's already Spider-Man, and he remember when he tells Ned, like, when you can do the things that I can, and you can help people, and you don't.
And then when the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
I think that's an indirect.
It's like It's like getting the same point across.
Yeah, I think but I think he's allocated to the Uncle Ben thing without saying it's Uncle Ben. It's like Homecoming isn't just meant for casual Spider-Man fans. That movie was meant for the diehards who know.
You and me.
Yeah. And hopefully our watchers.
Yes. Yeah, if you don't like Spider-Man, that's fine, but you're probably in the wrong spot.
Oh, big time. I mean, we already did Spider-Man Homecoming, didn't we?
Oh, yes, that's already up on the channel.
So anyway, getting back to the origin of Spider-Man, as soon as he, figures that out, he's like, okay, you know what? I have this great power. It's time to exercise great responsibility.
Yes.
And, Spider-Man.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's the theme that kind of kept me pumped up for the origin of Spider-Man. Because as much as we don't like the Maguire films, Danny Elfman wrote a pretty good score for it.
He did. It was really good.
So, who was his first villain? It was Lizard, wasn't it?
It was who?
Or no, wait. No. It was a chameleon. Because I remember reading in the Spider-Man encyclopedia that I had, it mentioned that chameleon first appeared in Spider-Man issue 1.
No, he wasn't. Oh, hang on. Yeah, issue 1 of Spider-Man. Yeah, I forgot about that. I was thinking about Amazing Fantasy. Because that wasn't technically a Spider-Man comic.
Why isn't that all the big name superheroes don't first appear in their own comics? It's always like for instance, for Superman it was Action Comics. For Batman it was Detective Comics, which would eventually become DC.
Well, okay, Action Comics was DC, and then it became Detective Comics, and then it became DC. You got to remember, Superman was the first superhero. Well, okay, first one in comic anyway. But as far as I don't know, maybe that's what I've heard. But
I always say I always thought Captain America was the first because
no. Superman came way before Captain America.
Okay.
And in fact, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, Superman was intentionally intended to be a villain.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yes, and then they changed it.
Yeah, because
seriously.
Anyway, back to Spider-Man.
Yeah. But as far as Spider-Man goes, about what you're talking about, Spider-Man was one of those things where Stan Lee, he brought the idea to his publisher, and his publisher said, "Are you kidding? That's never going to work." But then he published it anyway. And he said, "Hey, Stan, remember that thing you were telling me about the other day? It's one of our best sellers. Keep writing about that guy." And I love Spider-Man. I love him. He's my favorite superhero ever.
Which is why I refer to David as a Spider-holic.
Yes. Though I have not kept up on his comic adventures after, I want to say somewhere around 2006.
Oof. Yeah,
yes.
I mean...
Because, I mean, this is the thing about Marvel. They've had a history of splintering off different universes, and that kind of confuses me. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noah. Earth 616 is the normal one, right?
I think that's the OG.
Yeah, see, we're not even sure. But,
yeah,
I do know of certain, pinpoint things that happened to Spider-Man, like the death of Gwen Stacy.
Ooh, that's a big one.
The death of Norman Osborn and the rise of the new Goblin, which is Harry Osborn.
Which was terribly adapted in Spider-Man 3.
Yes. And again in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That was even worse.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Norman didn't get to be the Goblin in that one.
Well, he did, but he got to be a goblin in the literal sense.
Yeah.
I hate you. That was my weird impression of Norman Osborn from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. I'm dying.
And you're gonna do it too, you little bastard.